Hi, welcome to this episode of the Soul Legacy TV podcast and radio show, The Soul Legacy Movement, with me, Iona, founder of the SoulLegacyAcademy.com. So I am your host for the Cheers to Financial Freedom Frequency Tele-Chat series for soul-guided entrepreneurs. And I have two very special guests in the room with me who I will introduce in just a second. So I will be featuring legendary light leaders joining me from all over the world, literally blazing the trail. We've had a ton of fun. So I'm sure this episode is going to be fun and jam-packed. So they're illuminating the pathway, and we're excited to share with you not only shifts for your soul path alignment, but also the gifts. So anything that I mention in this episode will be down in the show notes or around in the description of this episode. So we are going to be talking about the dark nights, right? The things that we experience behind closed doors, and that journey of transitioning into the light of our soul. And so we won't hold back. We're going to be blazing the trail, meaning that real and raw stories, real and raw emotions, whatever comes up and inflow, that is what we're going to share with you today. So hopefully you are excited. If you are not in the Facebook group in the collective, please do go over and join there. The link will be down below. Feel free to share this out. And so, what we'll do is just dive in. So Rebecca and Laura, where are you tuning in from?
I'm in Fredericton, New Brunswick. Thanks so much for having me. I'm on the east coast of Canada.
Are you? Oh, Canada's drawing me. Where are you?
I'm East Coast Canada too. We're about like an hour and a half away from each other. I'm in St. John, New Brunswick. And thank you so much for having us on today. I'm so excited.
Oh, I am really, really excited. So let me give you a proper introduction. So Rebecca, I'll go to you first. Rebecca Tremblay, and hopefully I've gotten that right.
You said it perfectly.
Yes! So Rebecca is a divine feminine coach and vitality coach. She supports powerful women in reconnecting with their bodies and their intuition and their natural magnetism so they can awaken to their radiance and have it all. So great health, great wealth, true intimacy, and a deep sense of fulfillment from life. I mean, who doesn't want that? So thank you for joining us today. So can you tell me, before I introduce Laura fully, and before we step into the gifts, and can you share how your journey unfolded, how you came to feel so aligned on your path and sharing the divine feminine?
So I grew up very Christian, and at some point I felt like I wasn't connecting to that. And then I feel like I gave up on spirituality in my 20s, and that felt like a huge void for me. So at some point, like, I became a teacher. I went to Brazil, and I went to a Easter weekend retreat, and I met a shaman, and she that helped me see another side to spirituality that made a lot more sense for me. It really fit better for me. And at the time I had been diagnosed with endometriosis. And so she recognized that in me, there was a big rejection of the female, of my woman side. And I had grown up with brothers, always feeling in competition with guys, like competing for grades and chess tournaments, like doing sport competitions as well. And I just was like, in my view, it was stronger to be a male. There was more power in that. And so she noticed that I was living really in my masculine energy, and she helped me reconnect to my feminine parts. And it's not about gender. Like, the feminine parts that I was disconnected to were my intuition, which is a huge part of our guidance for our life. And I feel that connects a lot to the divine within us, because we're really, with the religion I was brought up in, I'm taught that God is a man sitting up in the clouds, and that I'm a sinner,
I had that conversation just yesterday.
Like, if I have pleasure as a woman, like, I'm bad, I'm a sinner. So that was not resonating. And so it's it's interesting. I have a divine feminine deck here, and I picked a card for like what I feel I want to share, or what the divine wants to share with all the viewers and both of you.
Yes.
And it's Rita of Caskia, the patroness of impossible causes. And her mantra is, I am miraculous. My prayers create powerful channels of possibility. So I actually read last night, I opened my Secret of Secrets Osho book, and he talked about prayer. So I feel like that is what I'm supposed to be speaking about right now. He said that the parrot-like prayer that we are taught in church is not what we're talking about here. We're talking about connecting to creator and source energy, and everybody has that ability to connect at any time, and it's through prayer. It's through calling it in, connecting. And so I do that every time I work with a client. I do that when I want to call something into my life. I light a candle, I create space, I connect to creator, and I feel like more people need to know about this, because you're not alone. So many people feel like they're alone, and you're never alone. Wayne Dyer said, if you walked beside you at all times, you would never experience fear or loneliness again. And like goosebumps every time I say that, because it's so true.
Yeah, thank you.
So, that's like not, I didn't really get to like should I continue? Like I still have some.
Absolutely. So before you do, guys, so I met these two lovely ladies. It was on your show, right, Laura?
Yeah.
Laura has a show. So it's just amazing. And I love the connection. So I said, guys, can you come on? So you guys know each other anyway. So we're giving space. Absolutely. Keep going. I love it.
So when I met the shaman, I had endometriosis, and I learned, okay, I have to embrace my feminine side. She said, accept your beauty. And I was like, okay, I've never done that before. I always accepted it from external sources as a compliment. But like, what if I embrace that I am beautiful, and it doesn't just mean my face, it just means my essence, my aura. Like, as a woman, I am beautiful. We're all beautiful. And when I did that, something shifted in me. Like there was more of a self-acceptance. I accepted my nose, like I always felt it was kind of like a hook. And I was like, I love my fucking nose. Yes. So that was amazing.
Like, I need to do that with my side profile. I'm like, hang on, wait.
But like, I just had been rejecting about myself. All of a sudden I was like, I accept. It's part of who I am. I was created this way. And there's like, and I just became more radiant, which made me more attractive. So I did an ayahuasca ceremony with that shaman 3 months later after meeting her. And during the ceremony, at first when I closed my eyes, I could feel other people's like energy pulling me. So if someone was having their moment of healing, the whole room would pull into that person, and we would support their healing, and I could feel it. And it was quite relaxing for me at first. Like I didn't have a big wow trip like I expected. It was just kind of like, okay, like I'm noticing there's people around me. Like I really am feeling the music. I'd say like 3 hours into the ceremony, we were sitting in a circle, and the candle in front of me wouldn't light. And one of the shamans kept trying to light it, and it just wouldn't light. And all of a sudden I felt this like surge of energy come over me. And I knew it was because of me that it wasn't lighting. And I started like, my stomach was heaving, like and I started bawling, like all this pain was coming out. And I felt like creator energy came over me, and like my stomach was going up and down. And that lasted probably 10 minutes. And after, I just was like, sigh of relief. Like I just was like, oh, like I did not have an intention for that ayahuasca ceremony. I did it because my best friend wanted to.
Yes, like you do.
I didn't even have like a reason or a cause, but the universe
consciously, energetically, right? Yeah.
And when the ceremony ended, I was just laying on some pillows on the floor, and I was just like contemplating. I felt very peaceful, and I noticed that there was a street light coming in through the window, and it was a white light going from my crown chakra all the way down to my root chakra, and it was like a perfect line. And I was like, my chakras have been healed. And I had like whoa, this is like, it was a visual confirmation that there was like everything had been cleared, and there was like a nice channel happening. And 3 days after the ceremony, I told my best friend, I'm like, I don't think I have endometriosis anymore. Like I just had this realization, like I'm going to stop taking the pill. That was what was keeping my periods from being extremely painful. Like it was holding it down a little. They were still very, very painful. And I stopped taking the pill cold turkey, and I have never had a painful period again.
Wow. I love that.
A couple of years later, I had a baby, and endometriosis can sometimes be something that stops you from becoming pregnant. And like, I've since been taking a psychotherapy course with Gabor Mate, Compassionate Inquiry, and he's written a book, When the Body Says No, and he talks about certain diseases. It's when your body's saying no, but you're not saying no, you're still going forward with it. And I have a very clear, like, there are some moments, and one especially, where I know my body was saying no, and my mind was like, well, I'll just try, like, I want this, I think I want this. And it was like a sexual encounter, and it was with someone very toxic, with very, very low vibration, who was on drugs. I didn't know it at the time. And that's when I had the first time I had painful sex ever in my life. And then I was diagnosed with endometriosis, and my body was saying no.
No, your body
I've
was
never had
saying
painful sex like ever. And it was so clear. Like, it's so clear. Our body says no a lot, and we're just not connected to our bodies. So part of my purpose, I feel, is to help women reconnect with their bodies, because your body's always speaking to you. And I feel like if young girls and young boys could learn this, they would know when their body's saying no, and they wouldn't just let things happen to them that they're not, oh, I don't know, maybe I should, like, they're always in the head. The head doesn't give you the clear answers. The body gives you the clear answers. So if you can read it'll say what you need, and you'll know.
Yeah, I'm sure that you are in alignment with that, Laura. Let me give you an introduction. Hold that thought, because I know that you guys are aligned, and I know the energy and oh my gosh, right? So I'm excited.
On the divine feminine.
If you guys are excited, I'm excited. Let me know in the comments.
So excited.
That's just so powerful. And when we are connected with our soul path and our soul truth, and when we do, that moment is unforgettable, and you do have that excitement. And sometimes it happens like that, and sometimes it's more soul. So let us know how it's unfolding for you. So Laura McPhee is a joyful goddess, a speaker, healer, and coach. And she is the host of the Love and Light Show, where I saw her. You were on Facebook. I don't know if you're on YouTube as well, but on Facebook. So I was like glued, and I was commenting, and you're putting my comments on the screen. I'm like, I don't know about that one. A bit personal. So I had my partner in there watching that. It was brilliant. So, so you're also the creator of From Broken to Bliss, and she loves empowering women through self-love and self-care and sexual healing, and releasing the limiting beliefs that we're not good enough, we're not pretty enough, and so you can live the life of your dreams that's really joyful. So as you can hear, the reason why I said, Rebecca, go for it, because I know that it's so in alignment with the conversation. And if it's not Laura that's going to say it, it's Rebecca that's going to say it, and then it's just me. It's just that synchronicity. So it's so powerful. So do feel free to take us. You can jump in. You can tell us your story. We'd love to hear how this has unfolded for you, how you're really, really connected. I love it. So do share.
Yes, definitely. So I've been on this personal development journey for about a decade now, but my big dark night of shifting my life and reality happened in 2015, where I felt like I was burning out in corporate. I was a corporate accountant. I was hitting all the milestones. I was still taking night classes to get even more certifications after my name so that I get more money, and even one more vacation week a year, burning myself out. I felt like I was my family's savior. At the time, I had a parent who was very suicidal, and it was getting to a really negative point. I was in very unhealthy, codependent, toxic experiences with my family at the time, and just the weight of the world was on my shoulders, and I felt like this can't be it. I did everything right. I got a full scholarship. I'm debt-free. I'm making money. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm like the golden girl in corporate. And I'm miserable, and I don't have time for friends because I'm always studying for the next exam to get more accolades, and it didn't make sense. And I just I'm extremely smart, so it just looking at the rest of my life and being like, this is what it's going to be like, and seeing other women in my team who I'm so grateful I'm close with, and that they kind of supported me as they went through their midlife crisis in their 50s, being like, this isn't healthy, getting into really incredible crystal shops and workshops and book clubs that supported me in seeing that there are other ways that you can choose to be happy now, that you can in this present moment not be stressed. Imagine that.
I know, right?
My answer always to how are you doing was busy but good.
Yes.
But really was like, I'm exhausted. I hated getting up this morning. I can't fucking wait until the weekend because I'm burnt out. I need to sleep in. Yeah. So that was really my turning point where everything was seemingly going wrong in my life. Even though it was like on track, like it felt so out of alignment, even though this was what I had always wanted and dreamed of. So it didn't make sense to me. And at the time, I wasn't aware of the shift, but my grandfather had passed away. So I literally was like, I can't get to the end of my life still with these things. And everyone in my family kind of maneuvered the ceremony and everything to be on a weekend where it wasn't influencing with work. And I'm like, this isn't okay.
Yes.
I'm like, work is the number one thing in everyone's lives and not living it. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. So I was hyper in my masculine. I was literally indoctrinated into like, go, 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 produce, 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 outcome, outcome, outcome. This is what matters. And that's what I always did. I was 110% and the golden girl and all the things growing up. So it just didn't make sense that what I had always dedicated my life to.
Why does it not resonate?
Yeah, like I started working when I was 7 in my parents' accounting business because it was in home. So I did like a long time of working. By the time I was 10, I was doing like basic data entry. So I had been working and volunteering like my entire life. So it was really, really interesting to be like, this was the epitome of what I was working up towards. And it's not
working for you.
I'm not happy. I don't have time to date. So it was very interesting to get into crystals and to get into spirituality and different types of books, not just personal development and Tony Robbins stuff.
Did somebody introduce you to that, or you just was like that urge to just do something different?
Both. I was definitely looking at things on Google, and it's interesting because my first crystal ever is the selenite, and I still always have it by me. It's like this heart selenite, and then rose quartz was the next one that I got for myself. And at the time, I wasn't on board that they had energies themselves. I was just like, okay, well, I put Post-it notes up to be like, be positive. I can do anything. Yeah. I'm going to look at that and be like, okay, I'll clear my energy or like think of something happier or something like that. I wasn't that on board with spirituality. But at the time where it kind of felt like the peak of everything going wrong and I just couldn't keep everything up in the air for long term, I'm like, this isn't sustainable. I went to a wellness expo and I met my theta healer and life coach. Didn't know it at the time, but she did this like 30-minute group session with theta healing to clear and release stress and your worry and stuff like that. And I went from being up at 2:00 in the morning, still not being able to fall asleep, being like, maybe I should just log back into my computer and just do a little bit more work so that I don't have to think about it, to just going to bed and not worrying. Yeah. And just, I'd respond differently to situations. There'd be stressful stuff at work. And I used to get very like panicked and stressed and like, it felt terrible and I just wasn't reacting in the same ways. So I'm like, okay, I don't know what kind of like magic stuff that she does.
Yeah, but there's something going on here.
Life, so I'm going to go see her.
Oh, wow.
And I went from like being petrified that I was going to make like one mistake at work and my whole world was going to fall apart to choosing to leave corporate and be like, I'm going to be a coach. I'm going to help other people. This is what I'm here to do. And I'm not going to wait until I'm in my 40s or 50s to do it. I get to do it now. I don't need to like build this huge buffer of like financial resources, which was kind of the story that I had in my head at the time, that like I needed to make all this money before I could help someone else. I had to, like, money was the biggest thing for sure, especially growing up poor. That was like my biggest thing holding me back. But I'm like, I need to make all this so that I'll be safe. Yes. So that I'll keep my family safe. And to shift all those old limitations and beliefs to be like, oh, all these old things that I thought were serving me were really like locks that
illusion
and trapping me. It was like eye-opening to choose to quit corporate within a matter of months. And then my 5 to 10 year plan at this amazing marketing company that was so on board with me, like doing transition stuff, like getting more certifications and doing my Reiki Master Practitioner and Theta Healing certifications and like doing those things on the side. And I did Tony Robbins Core 100. Like I was doing all my things after 5 o'clock. I was able to leave at 5 o'clock for the first time ever.
Right.
And the universe magically, like a year and a couple months later, on the first day of spring, on International Happiness Day on Facebook, that's what it was telling me.
Yeah.
The universe restructured the company and they're like, we're moving this to the US and I live in Canada. So I was like, okay,
Bye.
I'm getting a really big push from the universe. And I did it. I became a full-time happiness coach and healer, and I've been full-time doing this work ever since. So I really believe that it's just our old identities and our old stories and our old belief systems that are holding us back, that once we shift and change those, and theta healing is incredible. It's my like number one tool. I use it every single day of my life because it's just tapping into our subconscious. Like you naturally normally go into your theta brainwave every single night when you go to bed. So you might as well utilize the tools that are within yourself to shift and change and upgrade into the person that you're desiring. So that was huge in my life. And when I got to that point, I discovered that I was super hyper masculine, that I was needing to be in control.
Wow.
That I had all of these rules that were meant to keep me safe, that were meant to keep some kind of structure and order, but it was preventing me from actually feeling the higher vibration emotions that I was learning about. I was happy. I was consistently happy, and happy felt good. But I was hearing other people start to be like joy and bliss and euphoria and orgasmic living and all these things. And I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, I want better. Like, it's getting better. I can only imagine how much better this can get. So like, let's go. And I've always been a huge seeker. So I always have like a ton of people of like mentors and coaches and healers and masterminds that I'm always investing in to keep moving forward because I love the upgrade. I love doing this work.
Yeah.
So that was the next big piece, was really experimenting with my divine feminine. And I know that that can be scary for a lot of women. So it can literally be like baby chunks of just like for an hour, let your partner decide what you're going to do for a date. You don't need to know where you're going. You don't need to like be so in the details and like white knuckling your life. We're not meant for that. You get to receive and be surprised and go into the flow of life and surrender and trust our intuition. And that leads to so much space and so many synchronicities and so many incredible like gifts and joyful experiences. So that's what I got really, really excited by. And at the time I was so not excited that the universe was calling me to be a joyful goddess. I resisted that for like several months. I had friends. Yeah, I had friends who were like spiritual goddesses who do goddess gathering retreats. And I went there and I didn't feel like an imposter going to their retreats, going to their events and being part of those circles. But I definitely felt like one when that name came through. I'm like, but I'm not her yet. I'm not ready to be this. I don't want to talk about my sexual healing experiences. I don't want to be a leader in this field. It all felt like very big and scary.
Yeah.
Because moving this women's movement forward is like a lot of
it's big. It's big. Yeah.
So that's definitely been an interesting part of my journey, where I had resistance to sharing my more vulnerable truths and stories. And
not anymore, right? You do that.
I'm very good at doing that now. But when I was first called to share that I was molested, I literally recorded it, re-recorded it, didn't want to post it, waited. I was just like, I can't. But everything was coming through for the Me Too movement. And I was just like, these things are real and it's part of my purpose. And I've done so much work, and I'm so blessed to be supported with incredible people who I've been able to share my experiences with. I've been able to do so much healing. And then I've gotten to the point where I can just share it and be like, this is what's happened. It's not anything that defined me. It's something that I'm grateful for now because I've learned so much and I can help other people with similar experiences. And it's very interesting because From Broken to Blissful is kind of the program that I made from my experience going from feeling that I was broken. Because even doing all this personal development work, I was at like Tony Robbins' UPW and he's like, no one's broken. And I was like, cool, I'm so on board with that. It's our belief systems. I totally get that. But as a woman, I felt broken. I wasn't getting wet enough in sex. I wasn't orgasming by myself or with partners. I felt like there was something that was damaged when I was assaulted, and that's something that I couldn't ever get back, that I was just alone on this journey. And I was kind of like bumping into different healers being like, I kind of feel safe sharing this part with you. I feel safe. And no one had gone through similar experiences that I was attracting at that point.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my God, I'm the only one
Just
this has ever happened to.
Mm.
So that was my big call to this year after Date with Destiny that I did in December, was like, so many women have gone through these things.
Yes.
So many women are scared of their feminine. So many women are scared to be perceived as weak, owning into their feminine and tapping into that energy. And I've done that journey, and I can share my experiences, and it's helped so many of my soul sisters. So yes, it's been terrifying to like go into those edges of sharing and being more open and vulnerable with all the different things that I'm called to share, but it's been so worth it to see like impact it's had on the women that I'm supporting. So it's amazing.
Thank you so much. Oh wow.
You're welcome.
So when I say, right, Rebecca is like, wow, just
so powerful.
Yeah. And so, you know, this show, the Soul Legacy TV podcast and radio show, when I say that I'm bringing legendary light leaders, it's not glittery, it's not fancy, it's not I want to be famous, it's my soul is calling me forth, and I'm listening to my soul, and that is the essence. Oh gosh, I've got goosebumps. That's the essence that pours out, and that's the connection. That is why you're here, and that's why it's not, oh well, speak for 3 minutes and that is your lot. Look, I know, right? And so I know that just giving space to that voice in your journeys, both of you that you've shared, will resonate with our audience and who are watching. So guys, if you do resonate and it's triggered anything, you know, just the tools that we share actually are going to help with that. So we'll move into that in just a second. The tools will help with that. But no, it's just not just you, and do reach out. On this subject, I definitely say reach out and connect. This is not my area of expertise, but it's the legacy that our souls are leaving and the journey of that soul path alignment. When you're out there and you're trying, for those of you who don't know, the Cheers to Financial Freedom frequency is about living an intentional life like you guys are now, and contribution freedom and health freedom and emotional freedom, environmental freedom, relationship freedom with yourself, you know, spiritual freedom and financial freedom. And often when we're denying, or we're just going after the money, or we're just, you know, in relationships that we know that we shouldn't be in necessarily, or experiencing, you know, the sexual, all these things, are all connected. All connected. So that's why we're having a beautiful conversation and just saying, I am where I am, or I was where I was, and now I am where I am, and this is where I want to go. And no fear and resistance might be there, but that's not the thing that's going to block my path anymore.
Absolutely. And I want to add to that, because like, I feel like so many people have discontent and longing, and like Laura's situation, they're in a job that it seems like that there's success on the outside, but like their soul is telling them something different. And that is your voice. That is your intuition. Like you have to listen to your soul voice, and like just like to continue with this card, because I think it's here for a reason. Saint Rita is asking us foremost to never give up on what we want for ourselves. And it's true. Don't wait till retirement, because you don't know how long you have. And she's suggesting that the path to what we desire is in our belief that it is still possible. We might not know how or when things will align for us, but we can participate in a deep prayer, a bone trust that at some point what we most desire will arrive. And that's one thing I have, is trust.
Yes, me too.
And that is why I'm here, because when we give up and we're pessimistic, or we're like, well, it's just not going to work out for me.
We've all been there though, right? We've all been there. We've all had those moments like,
absolutely. Absolutely. And like, that's where you can't give up. Like, stay true to yourself, and what your calling is within you. Yes. I find like when people ask like, what's my purpose? And they go and get a reading, it's like, no, the answer is within you. You can't for that externally.
Yeah. I feel like there's a journey to it. For me, I feel like people say, oh, you know, do this and then do that. And life unfolds as you explained. And that's why I love that soul path alignment. And you feel more aligned, and then you still evolve along the journey more. You know, there will have been a few years ago, it's like, well, this is it. Okay, I'm still evolving. Okay, this is it. And then you're always evolving.
There's no end destination.
Exactly.
And, like I want to share a little bit actually about that, because I started, like, I was studying to be a teacher. I have 3 degrees. I kept doing degrees because I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life.
You said 3?
Yeah, 3.
Overachievers, like.
And like, for what? I mean, I enjoyed it, and one of them was a full scholarship to Australia for my master's, so I'll take it. But like, so I started. Okay, so I would say like my when I hit my wall, I was being an educational assistant. I was working with children who had disabilities in the schools, and I was a one-on-one helper, and I was making close to minimum wage for that, and I was just like the replacement. So I was showing up when the other women were sick, or men. And then the teacher one day asked me, like, can you go photocopy this manual in the photocopy room? I'll take care of the child that I was one-on-one with. Like, he's fine. And I was like resistant, because I'm like, oh, boring. Okay, fine, I'll do it. So I went to this photocopy room, and I was photocopying like page per page, like flip the page, put it down, button. I did that for an hour, staring at a brick wall in a small little room. And I was like, my life has got to be better than this.
Yes.
What the am I doing? Like, I have so much knowledge. I have so much energy to share, and I'm photocopying a book, staring at a brick wall. So that was a turning point for me. Like, I had to get that extreme to really see, like, what am I doing with my life? And that night I came home, and I like designed my first puppet workshop, because I like to do puppetry. And that was where I started. And my mom taught grade 3. I said, can I borrow your class? I called a friend of mine who's a professional videographer. He's like, I'm really busy. I'm like, well, what day do you have free? Like,
I'll work around you, right?
One single day he had free. I'm like, we're doing it on that day. Like, please, like, don't give up on me. So he showed up. He did this great job. It still took me 6 months longer to find someone to help me with my promo video. But then all of a sudden I had this business, the Puppet Teaching Project. And I wanted to do puppet performances for schools on subjects they don't learn in school, like conflict resolution and gratitude and self-love, things that you just don't have in your curriculum.
The next generation.
That are so important. So that's where I started. So I, as you're saying, you don't have to stay where you start. You're constantly evolving. After doing that for a couple months, my best friend, who's also a life coach, approached me and said, I have this idea for a business. It's called It's Okay to Be Awesome. I want to teach children mental wellness tools, and I want to deliver it with puppets. Do you want to partner with me? And I was like, hell yes.
Oh,
amazing.
That, which now is going to become a TV series across Canada. We're looking for a broadcaster. We have a film company working with us. And like, so that's become huge. And then now I'm a coach, because I've done all this personal development myself, and I went through programs, and I had these incredible breakthroughs and shifts in my life. And so I see what's possible, and I really want to share that. So now it's like gone from puppet shows to wellness program to women's divine feminine coach.
But it's all, yes. I've worked with children since I was 14, and now I'm 46. So it's just like that legacy and that learning. I just love learning and having conversation and connecting. And so, part of this show is not just shoving people on lists and saying, go and get my freebie. It's getting to know the people behind the bios, getting to know the real story, getting to know that actually wherever you are, you're aligned anyway, because you can't ever go off track, although it feels like it. But everything just unfolds. And I know it's like, oh, well, the universe will show you the way. And sometimes when it's a dark night, or it's a challenge, or it's a frustration, you can't figure it out, it feels like, what on earth are you talking about? The universe needs to listen to me very closely. Like, listen up, right? So let's move into the tools and the gifts. And guys, again, I give you full permission to go and get them. I give you full permission to multitask, because when you get off, it's like, oh, well, no, go get them, right? So Rebecca, I'll go to your gift first, for what you bring to the Soul Legacy TV.
Yeah, so
I'll just let me introduce it. So hang on, I'm very excited. So I've gone through the gifts as well, and sometimes you see a gift and it's like, well, that's quite simple, or that's quite long. So yours is a video, Laura, and yours is a PDF. And so it's like, well, where do I go first? You go wherever your gut says, because I've got 2 guests, but they're in a line. So wherever you are, you're going to get what you need. So Rebecca brings a free guide to identify the energetic blocks in the body. So I love that you bring that. So can you just share? We'll take what the guide is about, and maybe take one area, and then we'll go to Laura if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's what it does is, for the people who are new to chakras, it has an image of each chakra, where it's located in the body, and what its purpose is, and when in the lifetime it gets developed. So like the first one to develop is the root chakra, which is located at the tip of the tailbone, and that is your sense of security in life and individuation, becoming a person. And if that is if there's no healthy environment for you to develop that individuation and that like healthy identity about yourself, then you get stuck in that place, and it stays with you until adulthood, and you're still stuck in feeling that you're not safe, and that you're not like yourself, that you're not true to yourself, because you didn't have people to support you in being true to yourself. You lost your authenticity. So like what it does is, in the guide, it'll tell you what physical ailments or illnesses or discomforts are connected to that chakra. And if you have them and you resonate with that, then you can see what positive affirmations you can tell yourself. And I recommend people write them on a little recipe card or a Post-it, put them on their mirror, and look themselves in the eye when they say it. And even more powerful if you touch that chakra while you say it. Oh, wow. So if it's like the heart chakra, I am open to receiving love. It is safe to receive love. And you touch your heart and you look yourself in the eyes. And it does seem simple, but it really works. And what it does is reprogramming your subconscious, and it's reprogramming your cells, so that you are going to create a new reality, because your thoughts are in, like, they have a huge power over you. So if you say all the time, like, I'm exhausted, you're going to create more exhaustion. Even though it's true, you don't have to repeat it like a mantra, because you're going to create more of it. So say the mantra of what you do want instead of what you don't want.
Well, we know that, like, and so everybody, you'll have seen, or you guys might teach it, or you might, and so you see the images of the chakra and the kind of meditate, but then diving deep. And I love the way that you put them, not only like the history of it and the kind of experiences that will actually physically show up in your life if they are blocked, and then giving that affirmation. So it's not just, oh, well, I'm identifying and I'm leaving it there. You're giving that tool of that vibrationally speaking and believing. And sometimes you don't feel like, well, if I'm going to say I'm worthy of being loved and I am enough, it's like, well, I'm just saying it. But eventually just softening into that is not a matter of forcing it. And like you said, I never heard anyone say like touching it and just really connecting. I love that. I do. I really love that. So we know about the chakras, right? Or we hear about the chakras. How do they become? Well, you said a little bit about the experiences that you have. So is that how they become blocked? So are they aligned when you first come into the physical?
Yes.
And
So they could be aligned, fully aligned. Mostly they are. However, some blockages are ancestral. So you're actually absorbing them from your mother and father and those that came before, your ancestors. So if you're able to heal that blockage or that illness or that thing in your life, you're actually healing your ancestral line, which is, wow, powerful. Because like, for example, I have had endometriosis and precancerous cells on my cervix. So twice in my womb, and my mother's had cysts and an ovary removed. And previous to her, I feel energetically that there are some sexual like problems that have happened with my grandmother. Even though I don't have proof, I just intuitively feel it. And I also feel called to help and support and create space for women who have had like assault and been molested and had abuse happen, because like they deserve to be held and to like feel the pain and get it released. When you stuff it down and you try to let it go, but you're not actually letting it yourself feel it, the pain, I think it can't be let go. It's like depression of the emotions, and then that's when you get depressed. It's because you're not expressing them.
Yeah. So you talk in the guide of the different chakras and the kind of things that you might be experiencing. So that's a lot. So it looks simple, but it's a lot when you connect with, oh my gosh, I'm experiencing that. And even if it's not, I'm experiencing this really intensely, even if it's about being along your path, and I laugh because it's like, oh, even if you've buried something along your path, you've suppressed that. And then it's like, okay, you might feel scary to have that surface, but it's just doing that until it's actually, it kind of just keeps stop.
living there. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Like noticing it is the first thing. Becoming
Yeah.
self-aware is very powerful. Just
Yeah.
like I've done a lot of work on my solar plexus as well, which is just above the navel. And I always imagine it as being our sun, because can we radiate? Are we allowed to shine our light in the world, or are we dimming our light and cutting off from our own acceptance of ourselves and searching for it all externally? And not recognizing that the only place we could ever get it is from ourselves.
Yeah. Because
when I accept myself, the world accepts me.
Yeah, I think that's common because we kind of go out there and go, well, that's going on here and that's going on there. And we do have to own our stuff and we do have to take responsibility. But if you're doing the work and you're doing the work and you're like, no, I have done this, I have healed this, I do not know what's going on. Can somebody, so that then just try it. And so guys, when you do try that, do let us know. Because it's not like in this moment while we're on that you would do that, but definitely come back and definitely repeat it and definitely go through and work through and go to where you intuitively feel there's that block. So have a look at the whole guide and then wherever you're drawn, do that. So how often would somebody do that? Would they just like literally, I don't know, would they go through it?
Can I explain how I would do it with a client if I was in person? I would get them to do the breath of fire first. So I'll demonstrate that. So you, when you breathe out, it's very quick in and out of the nose. And you can close your eyes and you do it for 1 minute. So you go.
Yeah, I've done that one.
Yeah. And then you scan your body after a minute and you notice, is there any discomfort or pain or tension or dry throat, or which part of my body is speaking to me? And if it's, for example, your ribs, you have pain in your ribs, that's connected to your heart chakra. If there's a pain in your shoulder, heart chakra. If it's a dry throat, your throat chakra, what aren't you saying?
Yes.
And so what's great about this exercise is if you don't really know where to start with the identifying energetic blocks, the body tells you by doing the breathing exercise, oh, my throat's dry. Okay, I'm going to go look at the throat chakra section. And then you're going to say, oh yeah, my body told me for sure that's going on.
Yes, so you're of that, like not thinking it, feeling it.
Yeah, your body tells you. So do a 1 minute of that breath of fire, and you will see, like some people get a headache and your intuition is blocked.
I didn't know that. So you just being in the space where you can share and you can share your experience. So I would do it a certain way, and just having somebody guide you through that, or just say, because sometimes it is overwhelming. Like, well, I've got this tool and I'm just going to leave it sitting there until another day. And that doesn't take that long to do that breath and to do that, because it's going to set not just your day up, it's your life and your lineage. It's like, it's your legacy to be. And so sometimes I think, when we feel like we're too busy, I don't have the time, and I'm really like literally stop. just stop. So I am very, very direct. Everybody knows that by now. If you've watched an episode, you'll know that.
The sooner the better, especially when you're feeling inspired. Like if you can do it today, that's better, because putting it on a to-do list becomes an overwhelming to-do list, and it's not fun anymore.
It's not. And so I love to incorporate, for me, living an intentional life is setting those intentions. And if you're setting those intentions to raise your vibration, your chakras are just at the core of that. So we're just saying. So Laura, I'll bring your gift in. And so thank you for sharing that with us. And again, you can get everything that we mentioned in the show notes, all the description around this episode. So you bring the unconditional love meditation. And so just even saying unconditional love. And before you introduce it, I want to say, for me, I have gone on that journey, and it's not an easy journey when you try and force it or learn it. So I really appreciate the meditation to feel it. So when we get that, so it's a video, right? What will our guys experience?
So you get to experience a guided meditation, and there's activations embedded within it. So you're pulling in Venus energy and our guides and Mother Mary energy to really allow us to see ourselves as souls, the radiance and beauty and divinity within ourselves that we are with our light at our core. And it's so powerful to see ourselves through that reflection, through like Creator, God, Source Energy's lens instead of just our own, because unfortunately our lenses have been tainted by the societies that we live in. So if you look at movie stars or magazines or marketing, you're like, okay, this is what a size X woman needs to look like. And this is what a 10 looks like, or a cover girl. And unfortunately, we get, especially as women, compared to these photoshopped, unrealistic, not real standards of beauty, of what we should be looking like. And that's been a huge thing on my journey. I was bullied ever since I was 10. So I used to have these constant negative inner critic voices, like nonstop being like, oh, your hair's curly and glasses and your skin's only so pale and like all the things. And I couldn't wear makeup because I had such sensitive skin. And now I'm like, oh, all these things were my gifts so that I can embody divine feminine beauty, loving myself and being in love with all parts of my body. And it did not start that way.
Yes.
I really feel like loving ourselves is such a foundational piece of this journey, because when we love ourselves and just love yourself a little bit more, it gives you space to do more of these incredible steps that support you in chakras and self-care. It lets you have more space instead of being like, oh, it's selfish for me to do this, or I can't take time away from my job or other people or my family or my responsibilities. It's so important for us to like give this love to ourselves, so that we are serving an overflow and really like embodying our true selves. So I went from like hating so much of my body to doing this work and really being fully in love with myself, even like naked in the mirror, like in love with my body, because I chose it. My soul chose to.
I love that you say that you chose it. That piece really stood out for me. Yeah.
So yeah, that meditation is really supportive to like ground you into that knowing that you're like gorgeous and you're radiant and your soul is shining through every single day. Even when we're in those dark nights of the soul, our soul is connected to this powerful oneness energy, and we're not separate. We're all together. We're all these incredible consciousnesses together on this journey of expansion.
Yeah, I love it. I know that you talk about, so you take us through, and Rebecca, when you said about the light, I got really excited because you talk about that white light, right? And just and having that within us and the heart, and obviously that's connected with the heart chakra, and then sending that energy out and out. And I've done things like that before. I've done meditations, but not like the guided. But then the way that you take it out, and then the way that you kind of like engage and look at that. I love that you use the water and just looking at the reflection of you. And I feel like, and if you take that to the mirror as well, just really see through a different lens. You know, when you close your eyes for like 30 seconds and then you open, it's like that's what reminded me of it, like, it's through the eyes of your soul, through the eyes of source. It's that connected space. So if you have ever been through an experience, whatever it is, or people have told you, or you just don't feel, know that you chose your body. Know that you chose your body. Know that your body is just, and I have all of those things, like you're saying about, oh God, I'm gonna love my nose. You know what I mean? I'm like on here, I'm like, okay, this is the side profile. When I'm talking to Barry comes on, I'm like, I think I want you to sit on this side because I'm not feeling the side profile. And all of those just little subtle things, just those little things that you say, and that it is not accepting who you are in this body. Why does that soul? And I love that it's simple and really powerful. It's quite long actually and meaty, but the way that it's that your voice is beautiful in it, and just that guy, and just taking time. You know, we get busy. Just taking time. Just take some time. Let us know how you find it. One of the things that I made a note on is like you're releasing that judgment often at times with the feminine, and you're saying the masculine and the energies. And yes, we have our own judgment. Externally, we have our own judgment. Can you talk about that a little bit? Because I feel like we've all judged ourselves, or sometimes we might not feel like we have that voice for fear of judgment, but we've already judged ourselves. Do you know what I mean? You speak to that.
Yeah, and it's interesting because sometimes we can get really annoyed that as humans we judge. So instead of judging that we're judging so much,
Yes, that's the thing. Yes.
be
Yeah.
like, okay, this is serving me. Like back in caveman times, we'd be around a couple hundred humans and we had to fit in. If we were banished from the tribe, we don't have enough energy and time in the day to get our food and have enough resources for the winter and make our shelter and clothing and all those things. So it meant death. Like a lot of our fears of being rejected and not good enough and all these things, the judgments that we put on ourselves or our perceived judgments that we're getting from others,
Yeah.
is for our safety. It, like, at a very core level, we have not evolved that much from caveman times. So those subconscious beliefs are in us to keep us safe, to keep us in this tribe that we belong in.
Yeah.
However, in the 21st century, where you get to choose where you live and connect to these communities online, and you could literally go to the grocery store and Airbnb across the world if you want, like, there's so much freedom now. So those are just like limiting beliefs and stories that don't serve us. So although it's normal and human to judge and to judge ourselves because we want to fit in, we want to belong, we want to be accepted and loved by others.
Yeah.
We don't need to keep those old stories. We get to be liberated from it. And one thing that I found in doing this work over and over again, I have so much more energy. Like there's so many energy leaks that we have when we're considering, oh, what's someone else going to think about me? Like, does this matter? Does this matter? Does the lighting matter? What's my outfit today?
Oh my gosh.
How do I do my jewelry with all this? Like, especially women, we're conditioned to take a lot of our time and energy and focus on our appearance versus men in this world. And to me, I'm like,
I'm
that's a whole other story of like the patriarchy and all those things and women having to like look a certain way to be accepted and all these judgments that women's bodies have. Like that's a whole other story that we can get into. But
we'll come back.
Yeah.
Come back.
Like it's just, it takes away our power. It takes away our capacity. And I really firmly believe that women in this day and age can choose to love themselves and embody love to other people and showcase that to our children so we can change the world in one generation. Like our children will just know how to love themselves, how to look in the mirror and love and accept themselves and not care if Sally or Susie thinks that they're weird, that they can just be in love with themselves and be in equality and love the planet that we're on. And that would change the world in a generation.
It's so important. It's so important. Guys, I'm going to respect your time. I just looked over. I'm like, oh gosh, I could be here ever. So I'm going to wrap up and have notes. And then I'll come back and ask you if you have anything to add to the conversation that you want to leave our guys with. So thank you so far for sharing just beautifully. Guys, do you resonate with that? It's just amazing. So just so excited. So it's work, but it's not really work, right? So if you want to change your tribe and change your vibe, I know we're talking about energetically, but sometimes it's physically. You want to be around people that are going to support you in your journey, whatever your goals and dreams are, however you want to live your life, however you want to show up, definitely the connection to the people around you. So I do say get around more like minds, and definitely if you want to continue on the conversation, come and join me in the after show. So my gift is for you guys is the Soul Legacy School Masterclass for Soul Path Alignment. So if you resonate with that, I feel blessed to support Soul Guided. Are you good? Oh, I didn't even see you go in and out. You're good. So I feel blessed to support Soul Guided entrepreneurs to manifest and maintain more soul client income, more soul family influence, and more soul tribe impact. And everything that we've been talking about here supports that. So if you are somebody who wants to start a movement with your message and get unblocked energetically and step into your feminine, then you're in the right place. And I also support you to, I say, bank 50K in 50 days. So if you've got energetic blocks or not accepting yourself or doing all of these things that you're thinking, I'm trying really hard to, like a hamster wheel and spinning your wheels, I'm guessing that some of these blocks and the unconditional love will just support you beautifully in that. So you can launch, lead, and leave your soul legacy with ease, grace, and flow. I'm all about the ease, grace, and flow. So the Soul Legacy TV is, as we talked about, your legacy from your ancestors. So what it is that you do now, that is the energy that you're passing on. And so I believe that we have a duty to really be the fullest expression of ourselves now, and just honor the people around us. Life is short. So rather than being so busy, just be the best version of you so you can shine your light and have all of those relationships that you really want to have and have time for them. And part of my work is dedicating my work to my son. So for those of you who've lost loved ones, for people that have made that transition, we're here to honor their lives. We're here to honor the lives of the people being birthed into our lives. So just really showing up fully and passing on energetically, intentionally is so incredibly important. And it's something that I feel like there needs to be more conversations with. So if you are part of the Soul Legacy collective, in the movement, in the Facebook group or on the page, definitely add your energy to the conversation, because it's one that, I don't think we have enough. So I say, everything that we've talked about here today is that energetic. And I say, join me in moving up the emotional scale. So I was stuck in fear of failure, fear of success, and fear of selling. And boy, am I going for it now, right? But I had to do that work, that inner work and that out work. And it's always a journey. Every time you up level, there's always a journey. And I was stuck in that fear. And obviously for me, with my son, I've had a lot of losses in my life. So I was in fear and grief and, not knowing the unknown. And it does have you in a dark night, but they are lower vibration. So I invite you to move up to joy and love and peace and appreciation or just the things that just feel so good, right? And we lock ourselves off from sometimes when we're blocking in our body. So definitely join me in that. And so I say having raw and real conversations is so important. So definitely add your energy to the conversation. And I say, remember to turn your wounds into wisdom. We've had so many traumas. You've heard the traumas, you've heard the journey, but you turn those into your lessons and you look for where you can use that and where you can be in service and fill your cup. So don't be a wounded light worker. I dare you to be a legend. Hashtag legendary light leaders. So guys, have you got anything else to add to the conversation? It's been magical. I've really enjoyed today's show. So
I just want to say thank you so much for creating this platform, and you're really making a difference. And it's just so nice to connect with both of you and have these empowered, powerful women really trusting their soul voice and doing it, taking the actions. And I just want to say to everyone listening, you can too. And it starts with baby steps. So don't think you're just going to climb the mountain in a day. It does take baby steps. So start today. Don't wait till tomorrow, and don't compare your journey to ours thinking that you have to get where we are in a week, because it took me 3 years. So just start and take baby steps and trust yourself.
Thank you. It's just so something when you speak, it brings tears to my eyes. I don't know what that is. It's just that, I suppose it's that love and that passion and that energy. I feel it so deeply. So thank you for sharing so openly today.
Thank you.
So Laura, do you have anything to add to the conversation? I could talk to you guys forever. But
yes, I know. Thank you so much for having us on. This has been a pleasure. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. The work in just showing up and watching things, even if you're in that dark night and you're having a terrible time, little by little things get better, and you get to choose every single day that this is a new day, that you're going to do one little thing that makes you feel better. Look at yourself in the mirror and say a nice thing to yourself, say something nice to someone else in your life. Those baby steps completely add up, and we get to all be the change that we wish to see in the world. It's not just each one of us trying to do this, we're all together. And when you have that mindset that we're all in this together, so many doors open up to amazing opportunities and ways for you to heal more, and soul sister friends and soul tribe, everything opens up. So let yourself experience more love. It's all about receiving. So the more love that you give to yourself, the more the universe will reflect that back to you.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And thank you guys, because seeing you two on your interview and sharing your message, it is just showing up. So when you connect with yourself and you unblock that, and yes, we all do still have that journey and we all do want to race ahead. But so I have my message and my calling inside of me, you have yours, and then just coming together is that energy creates worlds. You're absolutely right. It creates worlds. So thank you so much for being here. Most people won't get to the end of here. So you're here and you're watching it. We're sending you so much love. Enjoy the next episodes. Reach out, go and get the resources, and definitely come back and let us know how you found it. So we just feel so blessed. So we'll speak to you soon. I shall see you on another episode.
Bye.
Sending you lots of love.
Bye.